of experiences and true life stories of people who came to America with nothing.
The migrants don't want to be in shelter for the rest of their lives. They're here just to get a little bit of opportunity.
And ship them here to New York to make a cheap political point.
It's an arrival center for migrants where they can gain access to vaccinations, food, and other resources
to America as political pawns and shove them into buses.
Escalating migrant crisis. Let's dive into the nitty-gritty of what's happening in New York City with this migrant crisis. You've got these migrants, mainly from West Africa, trying to make a go of it in the Big Apple. But instead of the bright lights of Times Square or the cozy apartments of Brooklyn, they're bunking down in the basements of furniture stores. You heard that right, furniture stores. Now you might be thinking, well, what's the big deal? A basement's a basement, right? Wrong. These basements are like something out of a nightmare. Overcrowded? Check. Hazardous? Double check. These folks are sleeping on mattresses on the floor, packed in like sardines. And to make matters worse, they've got to deal with dodgy space heaters that could go up in flames faster than you can say hot mess. But it gets even crazier. Despite living in these downright dire conditions, these migrants are shelling out serious cash, up to $300 a month to be exact, for the privilege of calling these cramped basements home. They're forking over their hard-earned dough just to have a roof over their heads, even if it's a leaky one with sketchy heating. And here's the kicker. Winter in New York City isn't exactly a walk in Central Park. With freezing temperatures and snowstorms blowing in,
of experiences and true life stories of people who came to America with nothing.
Yes, absolutely, there's been an increase, but to see that we are still operating with the mentality of emergency response.
Trust me, they are all going to go out and find a job, because I've never seen folks who are so hungry to work.
These already subpar living conditions become downright unbearable. Insufficient heating, leaky ceilings, and facilities that wouldn't pass muster in a rundown motel. The situation is pretty dire. These migrants are scraping by in the shadows, trying to eke out a living in a city that never sleeps. But instead of the bright lights of Broadway, they're stuck in a dimly lit basement of furniture stores, paying through the nose for the privilege. It's a tough gig, to say the least. Rise of crime wave. Let's delve deeper into the gripping saga of the crime wave sweeping through New York City's migrant communities. In the bustling streets of the city that never sleeps, there's a shadowy underworld at play. Organized crime rings led by migrants have emerged as the puppet masters behind a string of daring thefts and robberies. These aren't your run-of-the-mill crimes. They're meticulously planned and executed with military precision, leaving law enforcement scratching their heads. But these criminals aren't meeting in dark alleyways or secret hideouts. They're doing it all from the comfort of their smartphones. That's right. WhatsApp has become their go-to tool for coordinating their nefarious activities. From assigning roles to divvying up the spoils, everything happens with a few taps of a screen. And let me tell you, trying to catch these crooks in the act is like chasing shadows. They move quickly, striking with surgical precision before melting back into the city's labyrinth of streets and alleys. It's a game of cat and mouse, with the criminals always seeming to be one step ahead.
It's humanitarian, and we got to figure out how to deal with it.
As soon as we can get these folks legal status.
The migrants don't want to be in shelter for the rest of their lives. They're here just to get a little bit of opportunity.
I'm never going to support the idea of turning people in need away. And ship them here to New York to make a cheap political point. Well, that's the definition of hope.
For law enforcement, it's a nightmare scenario. Traditional methods of tracking and apprehending suspects simply don't cut it in this digital age. With WhatsApp encrypting messages end-to-end, it's like trying to crack a safe without the combination. Nearly impossible. But despite the challenges, the men and women in blue aren't giving up without a fight. They're adapting their tactics, leveraging technology, and working tirelessly to bring these criminals to justice. From undercover operations to stakeouts, they're leaving no stone unturned in their quest to restore peace and order to the streets of New York City. So while the rise of this crime wave may seem like a daunting challenge, it's also a testament to the resilience and determination of law enforcement. With dedication, innovation, and a little bit of luck, they'll turn the tide and ensure that justice is served one WhatsApp message at a time. NYPD struggles. Let's peel back the curtain and take a closer look at how the NYPD is grappling with the challenges posed by New York City's sanctuary city status. With sanctuary city policies in place, the NYPD's hands are tied when it comes to working closely with Immigration and Customs Enforcement, aka ICE. This lack of collaboration is like trying to fight a fire with one hand while the other is tied behind your back. It's tough, to say the least. Without the ability to freely exchange information and coordinate efforts with ICE, law enforcement is facing an uphill battle in managing the crime wave sweeping through the city. Imagine trying to piece together a puzzle without all the pieces. And speaking of puzzles, let's talk about repeat offenders. These folks are like a thorn in the NYPD side, contributing to the ongoing crime wave and making life difficult for everyone. Thanks to sanctuary city policies, deporting these repeat offenders isn't as simple as it sounds. Without the ability to work closely with ICE, the NYPD's hands are tied when it comes to removing these individuals from the city. It's like trying to play a game of chess without being able to move your pieces. It's a losing battle. So what does all this mean for law enforcement? It means they're facing an uphill battle, trying to address the root causes of the crime wave without all the tools at their disposal. It's like trying to navigate a maze blindfolded. It's tough, but they're doing their best to make it work.
It's an arrival center for migrants where they can gain access to vaccinations, food, and other resources.
This is not an El Paso issue. This is a federal government issue.
Cut the political crap.
Bus from El Paso to arrive in the next couple of hours. We'll be waiting.
But it is also a humanitarian relief center that houses families with children.
In the end, it's a tough situation all around. With sanctuary city policies limiting cooperation with ICE, the NYPD is facing significant challenges in managing the surge in criminal activities and dealing with repeat offenders. But despite the obstacles, they're not throwing in the towel just yet. They're rolling up their sleeves and doing everything they can to keep the city safe, one day at a time. Mayor Eric Adams' warning. Let's talk about Mayor Eric Adams and his serious warnings about what could be brewing in the Big Apple. Mayor Adams isn't one to mince words, especially when it comes to the safety and well-being of his city. He's sounding the alarm bells loud and clear, calling the migrant crisis a potential disaster waiting to happen. And you know what? He's got a point. In his eyes, the current sanctuary city policy isn't just cutting it. It's like trying to put out a wildfire with a water pistol. It's just not enough. That's why he's pushing for some serious changes, amendments to the policy that would allow for better coordination with Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Now, we know what you're thinking. ICE isn't exactly everyone's favorite agency, but hear Mayor Adams out. He's not saying, let's round up every migrant in sight. He's talking about targeting the real troublemakers, the repeat offenders who are causing chaos on the streets. Mayor Adams believes that by working hand in hand with ICE, law enforcement can finally get a grip on the crime wave that's been plaguing the city. It's not just about locking people up, it's about sending a message loud and clear that New York City won't tolerate lawlessness. But it's not just about crime, it's about dollars and cents too. Money.
We're already experiencing them going elsewhere and going other places where they can build community.
And ended up sending their children to college, becoming CEOs.
As opposed to having better plans put in place has been incredibly distressing to see.
It's just wrong. It's just wrong. Look, individuals who have swam through rivers.
Dealing with the fallout from the migrant crisis is putting a serious strain on city resources. From policing to social services, it's a drain on the budget that New Yorkers just can't afford. That's why Mayor Adams is all about finding solutions that not only keep the streets safe, but also lighten the load on taxpayers' wallets. And he believes that by improving coordination with ICE, the city can do just that. It's a bold move, sure, but hey, in a city as big and bold as New York, sometimes you've got to think outside the box. Strain on local resources. Let's delve into the real talk about how the migrant crisis is hitting home for New Yorkers. When it comes down to it, it's not just about what's happening on the streets, it's about how it's affecting everyday folks. The migrant crisis is putting a serious strain on local resources, and let me tell you, people are feeling it. From stretched thin social services to overburdened law enforcement, it's like the city's trying to juggle one too many balls at once. And it's not just the practical stuff, it's the emotions. Community tensions are running high as residents start questioning what's really going on. Some folks are feeling neglected, like their needs are being pushed aside in favor of helping migrants. They're asking the tough questions about the humanitarian and financial costs of all this, and they're not getting any answers. But here's where things get really sticky: politics. Despite Mayor Adams' best efforts to shake things up and get some real changes rolling, he's hitting some serious roadblocks. There's resistance coming from all sides: politicians, activists, regular Joes on the street. Everyone's got an opinion, and they're not afraid to shout it from the rooftops. This resistance isn't just noise, it's a real obstacle to making any meaningful progress. It's like trying to swim upstream in a river of molasses. It's slow going and you're not getting anywhere fast. But here's the thing: New Yorkers aren't ones to back down from a challenge.
We are driving to the Port Authority in Manhattan, where we expect
to America as political pawns and shove them into buses.
To get out, and once they get a little job or something that they can help their families.
Individuals who have risked their lives who have fled from incredible violence to get to this country because they believe it is someplace better.
They've weathered storms before, and they'll weather this one too. It's going to take some real teamwork, some real soul-searching, but if there's one thing they're good at, it's coming together when it counts. So the road ahead might be bumpy, but this is New York City. They've seen worse. And if there's one thing we know for sure, it's that they'll come out on top stronger and more united than ever. That's all for this video, folks. See you next time.